Welcome to Midnight Silence. If you're here tonight, it's probably because your mind needs rest, and your heart needs a moment to feel safe again. This space is created for you, for the ones who carry too much, who feel too deeply, and who have forgotten what it means to simply breathe. So before we begin, if this kind of stillness speaks to you, you're gently invited to subscribe, leave a quiet like, or just stay until the end, even if you close your eyes along the way. There's a kind of silence that doesn't come from the absence of sound. It arrives when everything inside you has grown too tired to speak. You've felt it before, not in the quiet of an empty room, but in that quiet inside your chest, after the storm has passed, and yet somehow, you're still not at peace. This silence isn't soft. It's heavy, dense with everything you never said, with everything you tried to carry, until your arms could no longer hold it. It's the quiet after the last argument. After the final message was left on scene. After you realized that no one was really listening. Not to the words, and certainly not to the truth hiding beneath them. This silence isn't loneliness. It's not even grief. It's the sound of your soul finally sitting down after running for too long with no place to rest. Some call it numbness. Others call it dissociation. But here, on this quiet night, let's not call it anything at all. Let's just sit with it. Breathe. No labels. No judgments. Just you, and the soft, strange stillness of a heart that has cried all its tears and now can only whisper. There's nothing wrong with this silence. In fact, this might be the first time you're hearing yourself without the noise of survival. The noise that tells you to smile when you don't want to keep working when your bones ache, to hold conversations when all you want is to be left alone. And now, that noise is gone. All that's left is you, the true you, quiet, tender, exhausted, but still here, like the ocean at dawn, still moving beneath the surface, even when the waves are too tired to rise. Like the sky just before rain, holding its breath before the clouds finally release. You are not broken for feeling this way. You are not weak because your emotions have gone quiet. You are simply human. And humans, like seasons, like tides, have moments of stillness that the world will never understand. But you don't need the world to understand you tonight. You only need a little space. A little breath. A little room to exist without explaining why you're not okay. So if you're listening to this with eyes half closed, if you're curled up in bed wondering why you feel so much, and yet feel nothing at all, know this, you're not alone in this silence. You're not wrong for needing it. And you're not behind just because you've paused. Sometimes, silence is not the absence of life, it's the pause before life begins to grow again. And maybe, just maybe, this silence you carry tonight is the soil in which your healing will take root. You don't need to speak. You don't need to push. You don't even need to understand it all. You only need to breathe. Let the weight be there. Let it be heavy. Let it mean something. Because eventually, this silence will start to soften. Not through effort, but through presence. Through moments like this one. Through letting go of the need to fix yourself, and simply letting yourself be. Right here. Right now. In this sacred, quiet moment, where pain stops shouting, and silence starts speaking louder than anything you've ever heard. There comes a time when feeling becomes too loud, too sharp, too constant, and the only way the mind knows how to survive is to go quiet. Not in the world outside, but inside. You may call it numbness, emptiness, shut down. But what if I told you this isn't weakness? What if I told you this is how your nervous system has learned to protect you? Like frost on a fragile flower, your mind creates a layer of stillness so the most delicate parts of you don't break beneath the weight of all you've endured. You didn't choose to go numb. Your body chose for you, because it loves you. Because it noticed that feeling everything, all at once, was too much to bear. This is not a flaw. It's a final line of defense. And yet, so many people carry shame around this state. They ask themselves, why can't I feel joy anymore? Why don't I cry even when I want to? Why does it all feel distant? As if not feeling were the failure. As if numbness meant something was broken. But listen carefully, numbness doesn't mean you've failed. It means you've reached a limit. A threshold of the heart. A place where your emotional energy said, "Let me rest." We weren't built to be endlessly resilient. Even rivers slow down when they pass through stones. Even the sky dims before night. You are not a machine. You are not meant to always respond, react, perform. Sometimes your greatest act of survival is to feel nothing. And that's okay. Because beneath numbness, there's still something alive. A heartbeat. A memory. A soft part of you curled up in the corner, waiting to feel safe again. Your numbness is that corner. It's the room where the lights are turned down, so the soul can recover in the dark. And just like a tree in winter, you are not dead when you stop blooming. You are simply waiting for the right season to come again. There's a sacred kind of quiet inside you. And it doesn't need to be rushed. It needs to be honored. You may not be able to cry right now. You may not feel love, or sadness, or even hope. But that doesn't mean you're disconnected. It means you're healing in the most silent, unseen way. Trauma doesn't always scream. Sometimes, it hushes everything inside so that you can finally breathe. Sometimes, after too many alarms, the body turns them all off, so you can rest, without flinching at every sound. And maybe that's where you are tonight. Floating somewhere between memory and emotion. Too tired to speak. Too tender to feel. Too overwhelmed to explain. That's okay. You don't need to perform your pain for it to be valid. You don't need to cry in order to prove you're hurting. And you certainly don't need to rush your return to normal. Because normal never asked if you were okay. It only asked you to keep going. But tonight, there's no pressure to go anywhere. Just lie here. Listen to the softness. Let your heart do nothing. Let your breath move like waves on a still lake, barely noticeable, but always there. Your numbness isn't an enemy. It's your nervous system turning down the volume on a world that got too loud. It's your body saying, "Let me pause before I shatter." And the beautiful truth is, this numbness won't last forever. It may stay a while. But one day, without warning, you'll notice the scent of something beautiful and feel a small tug in your chest. You'll hear a song and suddenly remember what it was like to love. You'll see the morning sun, and for no reason at all, feel a little warmth behind your eyes. That's how healing begins. Not with a scream. Not with a miracle. But with a whisper, beneath the numbness, that says, "I'm still here." And you are. Even now. Especially now. Still here. Still healing. Still whole. Even in your quietest, most disconnected hour, you are still a soul worth listening to. And you are not failing. You are recovering, slowly, quietly, beautifully. Exactly the way you need to. Silence is often mistaken for emptiness. But the truth is, silence is rarely ever empty. It is full, overflowing, even, with the things we never found the words for. Every quiet moment holds a memory. Every pause between conversations holds a question never asked. Every time you sat in your room with no one to talk to, your silence was speaking. It still is. Silence doesn't forget. It carries stories, not in sentences, but in sensations. Not in language, but in echoes. You may feel them as that sudden heaviness in your chest when nothing is wrong. Or the sting behind your eyes during an otherwise ordinary evening. Or the random dreams that don't make sense, yet leave you feeling like you just remembered something you've been trying to forget. This is the voice of your subconscious. The quiet storyteller within you, telling the truth not with words, but with feeling. You see, silence is where the shadow begins to whisper. Carl Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." In silence, the unconscious finally has room to breathe. And it starts to speak. Not through chaos, but through reflection. Through stillness. through that familiar sense that something inside you is knocking, gently, but persistently. These are not new wounds. They are old truths waiting for your presence. The childhood need that was ignored. The goodbye you never gave. The anger you swallowed just to keep the peace. The words you rehearsed but never said. All of it still lives in you. And it finds its way to the surface when everything around you finally goes quiet. That's why so many people fear silence. Because it's not just the absence of noise. It's the presence of everything unspoken. But here, in this soft space, you don't need to run from it. You can stay. You can let the silence tell its story. There's no need to analyze, no need to relive, no need to solve. Just listen. Like you would listen to a distant thunderstorm while safe in your room. Present, but untouched. Some stories aren't meant to be fixed. They're meant to be felt, gently, honestly, quietly. You may not remember everything. You don't have to. But your body does. Your emotions do. And when you slow down enough, they begin to speak. Not to shame you, but to free you. Because what remains unspoken often turns into weight. But when you allow silence to speak for you, you release something. Maybe not loudly. Maybe not visibly. But something inside softens. A breath you didn't know you were holding slowly lets go. A clenched thought begins to unfurl. A part of you that had grown quiet starts to hum again, not with pain, but with recognition. The silence is saying, I see you. I remember. And I'm still here. Sometimes we try so hard to move on without ever pausing to ask what needs to come with us, and what was only meant to be acknowledged. So tonight, as you rest, as your mind softens and your breath slows, allow the silence to keep telling its story. Let it speak in waves, in images, in emotions that rise and fall like tides. You don't need to respond. You don't need to do anything. Just stay. Stay with your silence. It holds more truth than all the noise you've ever endured. And in that truth, there is no shame. Only remembering. Only integration. Only a kind of healing that doesn't demand words, just presence. So as the night deepens, let the quiet surround you like mist. Let it hold your unspoken memories like precious stones at the bottom of a still lake. You don't have to reach for them. You don't have to dive. Just know they're there. And they are safe. Because now, you are listening. And sometimes, that's all your story ever needed. There's a moment, soft, barely noticeable, when something inside you shifts. It doesn't come with anger. It doesn't come with a dramatic declaration. It comes quietly. Like a door that gently closes behind you, and this time, you don't go back to open it. It's the moment you stop explaining yourself. You stop justifying your quiet, your distance, your boundaries, your fatigue. Not because you no longer care, but because you've finally realized the people who truly see you never needed an explanation to begin with. You reach a point, often after long nights of questioning, where your energy no longer bends for understanding. You've repeated yourself enough. You've tried to be soft in the face of dismissal. You've written long messages, paused in vulnerability, offered the benefit of the doubt more times than you can count. And now, you're just tired. Not in a bitter way. Not in a cruel way. Just peacefully tired. Tired of apologizing for needing space. Tired of defending your sensitivity. Tired of translating your silence into something digestible for others. You begin to understand something sacred. Your worth does not increase by shrinking yourself into an explanation. And the beauty is, when you stop explaining, you also stop performing. You no longer smile when it hurts. You no longer laugh to soften your sadness. You no longer turn your exhaustion into jokes just to seem okay. You simply exist. Softly. Honestly. Without needing to be decoded. This is not giving up. This is growth. Because at some point you realize that the only person you truly need to understand you is you. And you do. Finally. You understand why the room feels too loud sometimes. Why your heart retreats even when your mouth says, I'm fine. Why you need long walks alone. Why some memories still make your stomach tense, even though they happened years ago. You stop questioning these things. You stop needing to explain them away. Because now you respect the language your body speaks, the subtle signals, the emotional pauses, the silence that used to scare you but now feels like home. This is when healing begins to take shape. Not through fireworks. Not through closure. But through quiet acceptance. You may lose some people in this process. The ones who depended on your explanations to make their discomfort easier to hold. But you gain something greater, yourself. You become someone who chooses rest without guilt. Who allows space without overthinking. Who says, no, without a 10-minute backstory attached. You begin to live more slowly, more honestly, more inwardly. And as you do, you find a strange, unexpected peace. Like the hush that comes after a heavy rain. Like the air that feels clearer after you've cried. Like a room that no longer echoes with the need to be understood. This is what it feels like when silence becomes strength, not surrender. You start moving differently. Not faster. Not louder. But with presence. With discernment. You speak when it feels real. You share when it feels safe. You rest when it feels right. And maybe, just maybe, for the first time in your life, you no longer feel the urge to prove you're worth listening to. Because now, you're listening to yourself. And that's enough. So tonight, if you find yourself lying in bed with a quiet heart, and no desire to explain it, know this, you're not lost. You're not broken. You're arriving. Arriving at a version of yourself that doesn't need approval to feel real. That doesn't need understanding to feel valid. That doesn't need to explain pain to make it meaningful. Let the silence hold you. Let it speak for you. Let it be your final answer when the world keeps asking for more than you have left to give. You don't owe everyone your clarity. You only owe yourself your peace. And tonight you are allowed to rest in that truth without a single word more. There's a certain hush that falls over your life after you've been still long enough. Not just still in your body, but in your expectations. In your explanations. In your need to be heard by others. And it's in that hush, in the soft pause between everything you thought you had to be, that a new voice begins to surface. It doesn't shout. It doesn't interrupt. It whispers. It's the voice you haven't heard in a long time. The one buried beneath opinions, routines, survival, and noise. It's the voice beneath the quiet. Faint at first. Like distant wind moving through trees you can't see. But it's there. And it's yours. For years, perhaps, you've lived surrounded by noise, external and internal. Advice. Expectations. Roles. Guilt. Even your own thoughts echoing back at you louder than truth ever could. But now, in this space, there's nothing to filter. Nothing to perform. And something inside you finally speaks. It might say, I miss who I used to be. I'm tired of carrying everyone else. I want to feel light again. I don't want to fight anymore. Or maybe it doesn't use words at all. Maybe it just arrives as a breath that feels real. A memory that lands without pain. A desire so gentle you almost mistake it for peace. This is not your overthinking. This is not your self-judgment. This is your soul, remembering how to speak in the absence of expectation. It never left. It just went quiet when the world got too loud. You see, that voice isn't gone, it's just been waiting. Waiting for you to get still enough to hear it again. Like the stars that are always there even when the city lights drown them out. Like the bottom of the ocean that doesn't vanish just because the waves are loud. That voice, the one that feels warm, the one that feels honest. It's the part of you that remains untouched. The part that knew, long before the world told you otherwise, what you needed. What you longed for. What felt safe, and what didn't. And the longer you sit in silence, the clearer that voice becomes. It's not always comforting. Sometimes it brings up forgotten ache. Sometimes it nudges you to let go of things you still want to hold. But it's never cruel. Never harsh. never rushed. It is patient. It is kind. It is healing. Tonight, maybe it's reminding you of something you buried in order to survive. A version of yourself you put on hold so you could be what others needed. Or maybe, it's reminding you that you're allowed to want something else now. That it's not selfish to change. Not ungrateful to rest. Not dramatic to need more than just, okay. This voice doesn't ask you to fix your life. It just asks you to feel again. Gently. Gradually. With grace. To sit beside your own presence like an old friend you're learning to trust again. You don't need a plan. You don't need a timeline. You don't need a breakthrough. You only need space. And right now, that's what this moment is. A soft space. For the voice beneath your quiet to begin whispering again. Let it come slowly. Like morning light through half-closed curtains. Like a forgotten song you used to hum without thinking. You may not know what to do with it yet. That's okay. For now, just listen. And in listening, something in you will begin to return, not all at once, but in pieces. Not loud, but real. Not for the world, but for you. The voice beneath the quiet is not here to explain you. It's here to remind you that you were never truly lost. Only unheard. And now, you're listening. And that changes everything. Not every story ends with answers. Not every healing moment comes with a revelation. Sometimes, the most honest thing you can do is simply rest. Not rest as in sleep, though that may follow. But rest, as in release. A surrender of the tension you've been carrying in your shoulders, your chest, your breath. Because truth, when it arrives gently, doesn't demand to be acted upon. It just asks to be witnessed. And maybe that's what tonight is for. Not to change anything. Not to figure things out. But to sit quietly in the presence of what is real. That you're tired. That you've been holding on for a long time. That you've tried your best in ways no one else will ever fully understand. And now, you deserve to rest in that truth. Not run from it. Not dress it up. Not explain it. Just rest. It's a strange thing, how healing often shows up not in thunder, but in stillness. Not with fireworks of clarity, but with the soft, warm hush of being okay with not knowing. Tonight, there is no urgency. No final step. No breakthrough that must be earned. Only this breath. And the next one. And the quiet company of your own soul, finally allowed to just be. You've spent so much time trying to prove you're strong. But here's the deeper truth. You don't have to be strong right now. You don't have to be doing better. You don't need to show progress to deserve peace. You only need to exist honestly. To lie here, wrapped in soft darkness, with nothing left to hide. This moment, this night, is not empty. It is full of everything that has brought you here. And somehow, you are still breathing. Still listening. Still open to peace, even if you're not sure how to hold it yet. That is courage. To stay soft when the world told you to toughen up. To keep listening to yourself after being silenced for so long. To give your soul permission to stop fighting, and start recovering. So take this moment not as an ending, but as an arrival. You've arrived at the edge of your own truth. And that truth doesn't demand perfection. It just asks for presence. Can you stay with yourself, even now? Even in this quiet where nothing seems resolved? Because that's the beauty of rest. It doesn't require everything to make sense. It just requires trust. That silence is still sacred. That not knowing is still worthy. That you, even in this unfinished form, are still enough. So let your breath slow. Let your thoughts soften. Let the voice inside you quiet. You've done enough. Let this silence wrap around you like dusk wraps the earth. Gentle. Undeniable. Safe. If there are tears, let them come. If there is numbness, let it be. If there is emptiness, let it echo. You don't need to fill this moment. You only need to feel it. And when sleep begins to find you, you'll know it isn't an escape, but a return. A return to yourself. Not the version you had to perform. Not the one shaped by survival, but the real you. Soft. Wounded. Still here. Still worthy of rest. Still worthy of love. Still worthy of quiet healing. Even now. Especially now. So rest. Not because you've figured it all out, but because you no longer need to. The truth is here. It was never complicated. You are human. You are healing. You are enough. And this silence you feel? It isn't empty. It's peace, spoken in the only language your heart could understand tonight. If you're still here. Thank you for trusting this silence. Healing doesn't always need to be loud. Sometimes it's just being present with your own heart, and letting it be enough. If this video helped you feel even a little softer, you can let me know by leaving a comment, or simply by being here again next time. Until then, keep breathing gently. And remember, your quiet is not emptiness. It's the beginning of something real.